Hello and welcome. My name is Natalie Areola and this is But What Does It Mean? Deconstructing Surreal Art. We began last week's episode by discussing my two-part image, Theater of the Needle. This image is broken up into two halves, one being the apex and one the eye. Last week we discussed the apex and this week we will be discussing the eye. Now for a brief recap of what we talked about last week. We began by discussing the symbolism in the title, Theater of the Needle. We determined that the needle is a symbol for the yin and yang, and we defined the yin and yang as representing the interdependence of contrary forces. We also touched on the idea that the needle is broken up into a male and female part, the eye being the female and the point or apex being the male. We then broke down the specifics of our apex male image. We talked about the key he is holding in his hand. We talked about the orchids around the neck and the seed, which is an avocado seed, obstructing the face. Before we get into the specifics of the eye image, I would like to recap what we talked about in regard to the yin and yang. The yin and yang is divided into two halves, a dark half and a light half. Within the dark half, there is a small light circle, and within the light half, there is a small dark circle. So it is said that within each half exists the seed of the other half. And this reinforces what we talked about in regard to the interdependence of contrary forces. I would also like to point out that traditionally, the yin or dark half is considered to be the female half, and the yang or light half is the male half. So you can see that this dualism between male and female exists in both the yin and yang as well as our needle symbolism. Now let's go ahead and discuss our eye image. When I first came across the relationship between the needle and the yin and yang, I was very taken with the fact that within the needle symbol, the eye is the female portion. So eye symbolism is very powerful. The eye is that which sees, it has sight, knowledge, vision, and it was incredibly intriguing to me that the female portion of our yin and yang would be associated with these representations. Now let's get into the specific symbols within our eye image. First, we note that she is holding a lock. So what can the lock mean? Perhaps she is the keeper or the guardian of some secret or knowledge which can only be accessed through her. Next, we will note that she is holding a red rose. So the red rose can be a symbol for love, for passion, sensuality, youth, beauty. It can also be a symbol for bloodshed and death. In less common associations, you will see it as a symbol for martyrdom and also specifically sometimes as a symbol for Christ himself. Now you will note that she is holding the rose close to her body and that there are droplets of blood coming down the front of her torso. So this is as if she has been pricked by the thorns from the rose. Finally, we have the avocado in front of the face. This is the fleshy part of the avocado, so it is the womb-like portion that is protecting or holding the seed. Now let's take a look at the two images together and see what conclusions we can draw. So what do we know about these two images? First, we know that they are meant to represent the yin and yang. The yin is the dark female half and the yang the light male half. These are two halves of one whole, and each contains the seed of the other. This reinforces the idea of the interdependence of contrary forces. We also know that one holds the lock and the other holds the key. We have a seed and a womb symbol, respectively. So why did we decide to put the seed in the male portion and the fruit in the female portion? Well, the male sperm is often referred to as the man's seed. We will also note that the yang or male half is associated with the active portion, and the yin or female is considered passive. The seed is the active part of this process. It is planted or plants and grows. The fruit or the womb is the passive portion. It holds or protects the seed. We also have flowers in both images, but in the male image, the orchids are draped around his shoulders as though an adornment, whereas in the female image, she clasps the rose to her body as though it is a burden. It is also pricking her with its thorns, and there is bloodshed. This also points out the paradoxical nature of the rose itself, which is both a beautiful and sweet-smelling flower, but also has thorns which are capable of tearing flesh. Rather than telling you what my intended meaning with these images was, I would prefer if you draw your own conclusions based on what we talked about in regard to these symbols arranged in this way and paired in these two images. I have given you plenty of insight into my thought process as I was creating these images, and I think you have absolutely everything you need to come up with your own interpretation. I would love it if you would comment on this video, letting me know any thoughts or questions you have about what we discussed, and also what your interpretation of the image was. I thank you so much for joining me. This is super exciting for me when I get to talk about these ideas and concepts. It really gets me inspired and thinking, and that is what I am hoping to impart to you as well. So I hope that this is inspiring to you. I would love it if you would like this video, subscribe to my channel, and of course, join my email list. If you enjoy these videos, you will definitely enjoy my email, which I send out on a weekly basis. All right, thank you so much, and see you next time.